What's up, my enlightening, indigenous, beautiful people? I have so much to talk about this week. I mean, there's so much to talk about. And excuse me if my energy level is a little bit low, but I actually just came back from taking the vaccine booster. So I'm feeling like I have been drained and completely sucked up by 5 BBC obsessed tranny chasers. But nonetheless, I wanted to do this video because it's been delayed for about a week or so now. And yes, I need to do this video, and I want to do this video. Censorship America, it has gotten to the point where I feel like we live in censorship America. You know, between Facebook and its Facebook jail and what you can and what you can't say. And then you have Instagram and Twitter, all these different platforms that set up these different types of rules that limits your freedom of speech. Now, in regards to the Dave Chappelle controversy, I'm going to give you my honest opinion on this situation. And this may upset a lot of people. Some people may be pissed off at me. But hey, in case you haven't noticed, guess whose channel you're on? A problematic one, yes.
Something real quick, okay? Can't now bitch have me shaking in my motherfucking boots because y'all went back and told somebody what the fuck I said. Because one thing about me and two things for sure, bitch, I tell you exactly what the fuck I said and then add some more to it just because you came in and asked me is that what I said. Yeah, it is. Now what?
I'm having some watermelon water. Pure watermelon water is really good for the skin. So, I want everyone to, grab you a snack, sit back, because I'm about to really break this down in some ways that are going to be what I consider the uncomfortable truth, okay? Alright, so I saw the Dave Chappelle special off of hearing the controversy off of it, because, I'm going to be honest, I'm not a big fan of his type of comedy. His comedy is very dark, but it does have a lot of social conscious issues in it. And for the most part, it promotes healthy dialogue. Hence. Okay, so I'm watching the show, I'm watching the special, I'm like, I'd say like 40 minutes in, and I'm like, so where's the controversy? Where's the transphobicness?
What did you think about Nicki and Cardi's altercation at Fashion Week? You were at that party, right?
No, it was called the Icon Party, but there were no icons there.
Oh.
Girl, the shade of it all.
I mean, sure, he made a couple of jokes here and there, but, So I just kept watching, and at the end of it, I was still kind of like perplexed of like, where is the transphobia? Just like, where is it? It's like, is it over there? Is it over there? Is it there? Okay, so he made a couple of jokes that some I can say will probably see as being transphobic. But, I mean, if you don't have a funny bone or if you can't lighten up and you find that is just like, I don't know what to tell you. Now, this is what I want to say, and I want to be completely honest here. And this is just speaking from my perspective as I see it. I don't want to take away anything from the transgender people that did feel offended by some of his jokes. But this is the best thing that I can say to you, and I mean this in all love and respect. There's so many other options to watch on Netflix. You don't have to watch the special.
Gender is a fact. You have to look at it from a woman's perspective. Look at it like this. Caitlyn Jenner, whom I've met, wonderful person. Caitlyn Jenner was voted Woman of the Year. Her first year as a woman. Ain't that something? Beat every in Detroit. She's better than all of you.
I mean, and I must say, I don't find his comedy that funny, but I did laugh a couple times in there. And he did ask questions, He gave his fact of thing that gender is a fact. I guess some people found offensive to this.
Transphobic! You're transphobic! You're transphobic! You're transphobic!
And like I said, I want to respect everyone's right to be offended because, rightfully so, you can't tell someone what not to be offended by. Like, the same way that we can't tell some of these trans people what not to be offended by. I can't tell a female not to be offended by me calling her a cisgendered woman, you know, but she feels offended. So yeah, it's like we have entered this part of society where it's just like you're walking on eggshells completely all the fucking time, and it's so fucking annoying. I mean, it's just like, that is a trans person. I don't feel offended. I didn't find anything about this offensive. Anything, I felt it, that this was his homage not only to the transgender community, or more so his friend, which I'll get into a little bit later, or actually very soon. But I actually feel that this was his invitation to have an open dialogue with the LGBTQ community. But I have to say something that a lot of people have been thinking. So let's take a blast to the past. If you remember 2 years ago with the Flame Monroe situation at the Breakfast Club, people were all in the debacle about that. And I had this to say. The thing that people need to realize is that whether you like it or not, but the overwhelming majority of the world is heterosexual and cisgender. Okay, that being said, you may feel a certain way, you may want to be expressed a certain way, but that does not mean that everyone else is going to feel the way that you feel. Now, I think the biggest thing about the LGBT community, we're so about equality, about like, oh, be yourself, you know, come as you are. But then we try to police other people, specifically the trans community, when it comes to how people address us, what type of pronouns they use. And let's just be honest, you know, respect and everything is cool, but that's not how the world works. The fact of the matter is that you can call yourself whatever, a tree, a woman, a dog, you know, whatever. But see, the problem comes in is when people, you know, no matter how many stats you put up or scientific studies that show that, you know, people are born this way, most people do not care enough to even go into it because they're going off of what they see, they're going off of what they've been taught. And I think that that's where the big gap comes in. Closer special. And as I was watching it, I was engaged. Throughout the whole dialogue, he was having a conversation with his fans and with the audience. And I must say that it was painfully obvious, and also, you know, parallel to what he probably feels, that he did not understand the transgender community. And it raised a couple eyebrows. You know, yeah, he didn't understand, and he was asking questions, and then he met Daphne Dorman. So you might be asking, who is Daphne Dorman? Well, interesting enough, you know, she opened for Dave back for his last Netflix special, which was Sticks and Stones. Surprise, surprise, the transphobic comedian had a transgendered comedian open for him. Yeah, that's what people are not saying. He talked about it in his special, which is kind of controversial, but, you know, he said it in a very jokingly way. And for some of you assholes that can't take a joke or that don't know how a joke is set up with a punchline, then, you know, I don't know. You're the joke. You're the fucking joke. But, you know, long story short, this woman committed suicide back in 2019, 7 days after the special. Now, the other media propaganda will say, oh, Dave Chappelle made this woman commit suicide. No, that is not necessarily the case. If you really want to be honest, she was ridiculed and shamed by her own transgender community for defending him. And I'm not saying, but I'm saying. And that's what nobody's saying. But if we're going to talk about, like, coonery and buffoonery, if you really want to talk about transphobic, honey, beware and behold the real enemy of transphobia. No, the poster child of transphobia.
Assert myself on that issue because it is just the greatest undoing, you get to destroy families, weaken society. I mean, you can do everything through the transgender movement that the left is really after, which is just chaos. That I talked about, I'm not comfortable using the she pronoun, not because it's not anything to be disrespectful, it's just that a lot of people that follow me don't know that Blair is trans, and a lot of people that follow her maybe don't know me, vice versa, and I think that it betrays the audience when you make it sound like this is a petty catfight and there are two girls sitting across from a table, when in fact it is a grown man sitting across from a grown woman who has had a lot of things to say about me when I've never even met you or said negative comment about you. So I just want that to be, it should be
super
known.
clear.
We're both adults, you know, you're a grown man.
No, we're definitely adults. I just think it's interesting how you act like you're above the ad hominems and you're above attacking someone, when in reality, you and I both know that the situation is you're using those pronouns and you're saying what you're saying, calling me a grown man.
That's not an attack, that's a fact.
Let me finish though. You're doing that in a way to be passive aggressive and petty, but in a way that your audience doesn't actually read, because you do have the very hardcore conservative audience, and so they're not really going to read it as petty. Everyone else will.
No,
though.
I don't want them to think that this is a cat fight between two girls. It's not. I'm saying
That's
that
the
you are.
dumbest thing I've ever heard
No,
of.
it's very important because
It really isn't though. But we can move on because it really isn't about how she dresses.
me and
I really
biology
don't care
think you're a
about that.
man. I'm happy to call you
That's
a she for the
totally
rest
fine.
so that we can move on from the pronoun thing and answer your question.
So
And Serena came across my rhetoric, which she deems to be anti-vax, because I've been very open with the fact that I am not comfortable with the rush nature of the COVID-19 vaccines or the pressures around getting the vaccines. And so I've made a personal decision not to get the vaccine. This deeply upset Serena. Serena tweeted to me, "You are the one who is deranged and urging your millions of followers that the only true means of preventing a deadly virus that has taken hundreds of thousands of lives is not effective. Live without fear by all means. But to spread delusional lies is morally repugnant." And this amazed me. It amazed me that Serena called me delusional, because in case you did not know, Serena is trans. This is where we are in 2021, where we are now being preached to about the reality of science by people that have made decisions to transform their bodies and believe fully that they can actually pick their genders. Nothing. That you can walk in and pick a plastic surgeon and suddenly that makes you me. It's deeply hurtful and deeply upsetting, and I will continue to be a voice against it.
I'm not going to sit here and bash my community and say that we're all being scandalous or whatever like that. But I'm going to just sit here and say that you got to call a spade when you see a spade. And for the longest time, I've always felt like a lot of things that the trans community, are offended by or they go after are mostly media driven. Ashley Marie Preston. And we just, again, we celebrate you, we see you, but more importantly, we will not stop until those demands are met. We want you to know that none of this was in vain. We want you to know that we're watching closely. And that we are going to make sure that any weapon of retaliation formed against you won't prosper. Because a lot of people showed up and shared their vulnerability with us. Not vulnerability in a moment in the framing of weakness, but vulnerability and feeling empowered that despite everything that they've come through, despite the violence and harassment that they've had to experience, that they still have hope that there's a society that's going to yield economic opportunity for us, that's going to yield advancement, that
Tell me out.
Bitch, let me call you back.
You see now, you done fucked up, don't you? No, you done fucked up, don't you? No, don't.
Now, sis. Girl. Okay. See, this is where you have to fact check people, because, this is why this is not making any sense, and this is why this is getting so much backlash. Okay. The last I checked, and this is from various media sources, having a Netflix job is one of the most attractive jobs there is. I mean, your average Netflix employee makes about $49, $50, an hour. And this is based on Business Insider. If you do a quick Google search, it'll tell you, what the average Netflix employee that is not including bonuses.
Are you broke? I have no money problems.
So I'm thinking,
No
are you
money,
broke?
yes, no money problems whatsoever. That's Tony Braxton. That's not me.
So when you ask yourself and you look at the whole logistics here, when you look at the whole logic here of what was the purpose of this walkout? I mean, really, what was the purpose of this walkout? Netflix that I'll walk in for any of those positions that walked out. This walkout. Shit. Because quite frankly, they hiring. Sis, I'm trying to make a point. It's very dangerous to play this game when it comes to censorship, America. I mean, censorship is already, PC culture is already winning by a foot long. So you ask yourself if, Netflix employees are not apparently economically hurting, and no one's getting harassed. I mean, I haven't seen any articles of any Netflix employees being harassed. What's the bigger picture here? Who was this rally really for? Actually, I've never met you, but I know what it is and I know what it ain't. I mean, you ain't no activist, not in a traditional way, more of in a Gloria Allred way. What you've done in the past, you know, the whole thing with Caitlyn, you know, when you went to the whole Breakfast Club fiasco, even when you was on RuPaul's Drag Race, and I think you come a long way from there. That ain't her. Fuck! God damn it. And child, I'm gonna tell you what really took me out. When I was reading the article that Miss Thing not only organized this whole thing, but she basically had a list of demands. And bitch! I'm just, no. This bitch had a list of demands. Bitch, is this a hostage situation or a walkout? Netflix employees.
My name is Queen Ashley Marie Preston. All Netflix employees, come away from your neck. Come away from your
As long as you cooperate and do as I say, no one will be hurt. I have my gaze at every exit of the building, so any attempt to escape will result in violence. But do not test my patience. I am a pissed off tranny with a gun, and I will not hesitate to pop a bullet in your ass. These are my demands. You will promote me as director of transitions to your new transgender sensitivity program. My annual income will be $350K, and that's just the start. That's with full benefits, 401k plan, dental. This position will allow me to have full content, full approval over any Netflix material that goes on the platform. We think this is more than fair. In return, your team will have no approval or say over any content that goes on the platform, including transgender content, but not limited to. Yes, and one more thing. We will absolutely need the private address to Dave Chappelle.
Netflix takeover, Queen Preston domination. Netflix takeover, Queen Preston domination. Netflix takeover, Queen Preston domination.
Come on! The audacity! And once again, I have to say, those Netflix employees. Now, bitch, don't let Ashley get you walked out of a job, honey. Shit. Girl, a list of demands. These are my demands. Miss Thing, you tried that. Honey child. All I gotta say is that this was a lie. It really was. And one thing that I want to be honest about is that I love my transgender people. I have love for Blossom, have love for Ashley Marie Preston, but let's be honest. Not everything is transphobic. Can we just do away with that word? Because quite honestly, I don't feel that it's the right representation to say that everything's transphobic when it's, you know, deemed hateful or whatever. You know, because phobic comes from a fear of, and as you can tell, some of these Aunt Tommyellas and, you know, coons out there they don't fear us. If anything, girl, honey, if shit show was an event, that would have been what happened at that Netflix walkout. Child, let's try to concentrate on the real issues at hand, like the fact that my girl Ashley Love has been missing for 2 years and no one knows where she is. Ashley Love is a transgender activist. Imagine that. A transgender activist, and she's been missing for 2 years. I just recently found out about this because, you know, I found out about this from some of the girls in Sacramento, and I was completely shocked. Then I went from shocked to sad because I grew up with this girl. And we're putting so much attention onto, you know, the Netflix thing. And meanwhile, we got a whole transgender activist out here that is missing. Oh, child. To be honest with you, I've seen dog shit get more attention from flies than this story here. Oh. Ashley Love has been missing for 2 years and no one knows where she is. That's the real issue right here. You know, not some comedian on Netflix who's, quite honestly, last time I checked, Dave Chappelle, I think, has the #1 show, or the #1 thing on Netflix. So, congratulations, Ashley Marie Preston. Congratulations, offended trans community. Yes, this is what we have now. We have now been responsible for making him #1. Give yourselves a hand and sit your asses down. Talking about some goddamn walkout, honey. Y'all need to be doing a sit down. Sitting your asses down. Shit. Ugh. Y'all let me know what y'all feel in the comments, and I will go ahead and be making my departure because I have said what I've had to say. I said what I said. And I'm not going to take that back. Here we go. Bye. America and their trauma that they have experienced. How, you know, I've never seen a group of people that are so obsessed with being oppressed. You know, it's the weirdest thing I've ever seen before. Like, oh, I just get on my ass and pick cotton off, pick cotton off, pick cotton off.
Candace, you've done quite well for yourself. You've never used a victim mentality. You've worked really hard to get where you are. How do you define good character and bad character between the average citizen?
Here's what we need to understand. We need to understand the bigger issue here. The bigger issue. The bigger issue here is that there's 2 types of people in this world. 2 types of people. And I'm going to give you that example. The 2 types of people that I'm referring to is there's the good and there's the evil. Okay? Now, the good would be someone like our great president, Donald J. Trump, one of the greatest men to ever grace this earth. That is a good man. That is an example of pure good. You know, nothing that this man did was not for the betterment of our society. Nothing. You know, I don't understand why all these people like to say, oh, Donald Trump is racist. You know, and I don't get it. I don't get it. Then you have the bad. George Floyd. We're celebrating him like, oh, he's a victim. You know, he had his face in the pavement for 9 minutes. Big deal. He went to jail longer than 9 minutes. He went to jail 19 times. You know, we're celebrating him like a murderer. Come on. Breonna Taylor, a drug dealer. Of course she's gonna end up dead by the police. You know. And then you have Black Lives Matter, a fraudulent group. Let's call it what it is. They're a terrorist. Yeah, they're terrorists. I know this is going to be very devastating, especially for some of you all in Black America, but it has to be said. Okay, here's a secret. Here's a secret. Are you listening? Are you listening? Come on in. Come on in. Need you. Come on. Black America and America as we know it. Slavery never existed. Yep. Never existed. It was a figment of your imagination. It never existed. It was never here. What you see in books, you know, those were actors. Those were actors. It never existed. Racism, it does not exist. It's part of your head. Systematical racism, it is all in your head. It is all in your head. So, there you have it. Issue solved. God, I am so good. I should run for president. You know, Michelle Obama never belonged in the White House. She never did. You want to know where she belonged? Come here. Listen. Michelle Obama belonged in the next sequel of Planet of the Apes. You know what? I am so amazing. I should run for president. You know that. If we can sell them with the BS on how the left is brainwashing them.
Those votes.
You
need those votes.
No problem.
You need the ratings. I think it's a great idea.
And basically getting more votes for the conservative vote and then switching it over.
It's been on for the last 5 minutes. I thought you knew this, Candace.
Oh, yes, hi! Welcome back to Candace Annoyance, my own talk show. Yes, I have my interviewer with me. He doesn't want to be on the camera because, like most Republicans and conservatives, they support me silently. Anyways, so what was the question that you were asking?
Well, how about this? How about
pay no attention to what you heard
going
or
into detail
what you didn't hear
about
before the camera.
why you hate the trans?
Yes.
Sounds like a question that a degenerate would ask.
Yes. No, but I'll answer that question because I don't run away from fear. I don't run away from debates. I will debate you. I will debate you on Twitter, especially if you have a lot of followers, because of the fact that I am struggling for content. So, listen. You cannot deny logic and science. These transgendered people, especially the transgender women, they always like to use the argument of like, well, what about women with hysterectomy? What about women that can't give her? That's not you. You know about those women? Those are issues that women go through. And quite frankly, it is offensive and is an act of violence that these men masquerading around can just freely call themselves women. Why do we have to respect them as women when they're just men? I mean, where is the logic and reasoning? Where's the logic and the science? Black Lives Matter. You know what matters? You know what really matters? Making something of yourself and stop using the victim mentality. That's what matters. Getting off your ass. Getting off welfare. Getting off EBT so I can use my tax dollars to go to something like building the wall, keeping the Mexicans out. That's what matters. That's what matters. I mean, if you want to get technical, why do black lives have to just matter? Why can't all lives matter? This is just so stupid and hypocritical, just like most of my stances are. I can't do this anymore.
Candace, you're my hero. I love you.
Well, by the looks of it, you look homosexual. So you need Jesus. And you can keep the love because I'm pretty sure it's infected with AIDS.